What are some things that they said that you either have stopped believing or maybe hasn't aged well?
That we're going to disrupt this industry. AI is an accelerant of certain things, and you know this, and it gets attributed to me that I say you can efficiently suck, and so if you have a really bad process and you put good technology on it, you'll just suck faster. How many BIM and VDC people you see became CIOs? And I will tell you right now, that is the wrong place, right? And there's a few of them out there listening right now. They're going to kick me for that, but I don't care. You should be a CTO, right? I wish we didn't have this thing called construction technology. They think the AI is going to solve the problem. Like they've been waiting for the easy button and it just never comes. It's like throwing a gallon of gasoline into a dumpster fire.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to hop on with us. I think I was kind of thinking about, this conversation, and I think Contact Crew was one of the first construction podcasts I ever started listening to. And you took that over from James in what, 2017?
It's a little later than that, actually. I think it was closer to 2019. No, you'd have to look back at when they sold SmartBid, because basically after SmartBid was sold, it was in my hands and it wasn't officially in my hands. But then the day he decided it wasn't worth it, and we had the tough conversation, and that was it. It wasn't a tough conversation, but it was just like he's like, I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm like, no, you're not.
Well, I think what's interesting is, I'm like 50 episodes, we're 50 episodes into this. And I think even if you look at like earlier episodes, like, well, that didn't really age that well. But you've got a record of, 300 plus episodes in multiple years. And, so I think, it would be interesting to hear from you. You've interviewed a pretty wide swath of the industry at this point, telling you how, sometimes very specifically, how the industry is going to change and is evolving. What are some things that they said that you either have stopped believing or maybe hasn't aged well?
Uh, that we're going to disrupt this industry.
We're still using Excel.
Yeah, and fundamentally, we still build things, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, so much of it hasn't aged well at all. And I'm part of that, right? That's the cool part for me, sitting in the seat and interviewing as many people as I have. Like, I learned that I opened my mouth too much sometimes early on, and was, pretty brazen when I got in the industry. So, I have a tendency not to throw the stone and try to turn it over and learn from it these days, instead of, you know, and that's actually what, I try to hold true to, is like, I'm pretty sure now I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't.
It, I was pretty excited to see the DeWalt core drilling tool. I was like, okay, I can see this one catching on. Especially if you're on data centers. On data centers.
Hmm.
But in that case, in that nuanced, component, it's like, well, I need to put a drain in over here. I got a saw cut here, and I got a core through wall over here. Guess what? I just need a guy to come out with this tool and knock it out, get it done, right? And that's, I think, the construction industry, which is just, it is massive, right? And it's not a one size fits all. It's just not a one size fits all with some of that stuff.
With that in mind, and maybe with kind of your maybe renewed kind of sense of a little bit of stoicism, how has that informed how you kind of interview folks today?
Um, well, I don't get as excited. I'll be honest. Early in my career, I did a lot of talks about, millennials versus, the millennials were coming in and the Gen X and I made this big joke early on about, like, listen, of course the older generation is a little less excitable. Well, because they've seen the world crush their dreams already. So, of course, they're that way. It hasn't changed in years, and it's going to be like this from every generation to generation. But there are fundamental things that have changed along the way that are true, right? Like, the technology boom and the fact that, we all started with iPhones that weren't iPhones. Remember, it was a touch, then you spun it, and that was like the coolest thing. I could spin through my music. And who knew someday it would be this thing? Like we didn't, and we didn't know how we were going to get there. So, I think that understanding that the newest generation each time is going to have that excitement, but also that they haven't had their dreams crushed. So they're going to try a few things that maybe you wouldn't. And the interesting thing about that is we need that balance, right? We need somebody over there going, okay, you can try that. Like Lars, the robot, the DeWalt robot, like it's like, wow, wait a minute. We're doing so much of that enclosure work right now with long slabs with lots of holes in it. It's like, yeah, I want a kid that grew up on a PlayStation, controlling those with a PlayStation controller that they're really comfortable with, and that knows quickly how to replace batteries and drill bits and the silica bag, but then can also like be with someone who's got experience, who's like, hey, we're looking at the whatever this is, while it's drilling, but hey, take a look over here. We're going to be, installing this here. We need to be, and they could be talking to one another. And that's something that this business isn't going to change. Like a lot of times I've felt like interviewing people, they were going to like get rid of the relationship business. And I'm like, that's not going anywhere, guys. It's not.
Yeah.
All right, sponsor break. Lars, real quick. When was the last time you got a new set of drawings from an architect and they didn't cloud anything?
Well, the one that cost me a couple $100,000 was back, I think, in 2017. So, yeah, lesson learned there.
Yeah, so, what I like about what Trick Tools is building is they're looking at tools to help kind of remove the mundane from the job site. And, same as you, every time there was a bulletin or an addendum, I would go back to designers and ask them to at least highlight or give me a cover letter on the changes. And that was always like pulling like teeth. But Trunk Tools is now automating that. So you get a bulletin come in, it automatically highlights the changes. You don't have to do a thing.
Well, it's also hitting RFIs, right? It's also hitting submittals. And when we think about standardizing ops, right, and providing that, sort of resource to those field operators, what I see it as, it's sort of like this, like, mentor within the company that structures, standardizes, keeps it moving in the right direction, looks out for risk. And just this last week, I had a QC manager just pass along a submittal to an owner without doing a review because he was too busy, and it was wrong. And the classic owner statement is, did you even review this? Right? So this to me is carte blanche. We absolutely did. And think about getting that first pass before your field manager ever even actually has to do the first pass. Someone's doing it for them. So to me, it's about speed. It increases accuracy and helps standardize ops out in the field, right?
Yeah, and this is the kind of AI that we've talked about on the podcast, really appreciating, right? Which is looking at ways to elevate the craftsman at the heart of project delivery.
Give me time back so I can be out in the field managing risk, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
So, all right, if you're a little curious, check it out, trunktools.com/podcast. And if you mention Construction Conversations, you get a discount.
Discount. Demos are free, and and you guys get a discount. So let's go.
That's right. Do you remember back? So, like 2016 was like the last time I was on an actual project, like in an ops seat, and I was trying to remember back. It almost feels like there was the pre-AI kind of reality and view of like innovation and tech, and then there was the post kind of AI reality which we're in. Like pre-AI, pre-2022 kind of ChatGPT thing. I can't even really remember like what were we talking about from a tech and innovation standpoint. Like what was the big thing? It was like data lakes, wasn't it?
So there was data lakes, and there was kind of understanding the big data, right? And you have to remember that fundamentally we were talking about AI. It's just LLMs are what people think of when we think of AI, but we were talking about computer vision back then, right? Computer vision was a big thing, and it really had an impact. and still has. In fact, it's one of the most mature of all of the AIs, right? Is computer vision. We were talking about, yeah, your own, BI dashboards not being big data and talking about data lakes. But Stephen, before that, man, like when I got into this industry, Procore was the new hotness on the block, man. Like project management was the hotness. We didn't have systems for that. And in fact, that grew out of the ERP disaster that it was in construction at the time, right? There just wasn't, I mean, it was really painful. And instead of solving it like other industries with true ERPs that then morph themselves into project management systems, we couldn't do that. Now, this is where I get to be wrong. Like I went back and I was like, well, it's just because you have crappy ERPs in construction, right? We don't really have an ERP in construction. It's true. We don't, to my opinion, we don't really have an ERP in construction. But the reason being is we don't work like any other industry, right? In every other industry, you're consolidated. You're a manufacturer. Yeah, you buy external parts and you have inventory, but you manufacture, sell, and distribute what you do and cash your check, right? Like, and you do that, you hold the reins. That's if I had learned anything, it is that this is the most complicated industry on the planet, and that's what, or complex industry on the planet, and that's what makes software and technology evolution, change, and adoption so hard. So we were on ERPs when I got in. It morphed into, project management systems at that. And then it was an app for that revolution, man. You remember? I mean, like I can go through the list of the ones that were in the room with us, the winners, the losers, the acquired, the whatever. I mean, they were, man, it was daily reports, photos, time cards, like that's all the things that were going on. And by the way, if you strip the lens back off of AI and you like move the noise, they're still talking about all those things I just
Jeff, I was
talked
going to say
about.
we're still talking about them. We're still talking about the same things.
But now we just say AI, blah, blah, blah.
Well, you know what? Like, I think it's interesting. Like, there is like an app for that kind of that period. Like, right before that, I feel like there was a much more like foundational conversation around the strategies and processes surrounding tech. And then there was an app for that, which I think was the beginning of you don't need to fix all your processes. You just need to buy the right tool. And that's like compounded now with what AI is being presented as.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's just making a dumpster fire. It's like throwing a gallon of gasoline into a dumpster fire. It's just it's and I say that flippantly, and I know like I talked about, hey, I get to be wrong, and so I'm not saying that it's the wrong thing long term, but what I'm saying is the way we're doing it in so many respects is just like AI is an accelerant of certain things, and you know this, and it gets attributed to me that I say you can efficiently suck. And so if you have a really bad, process and you put good technology on it, you'll just suck faster. That's actually a that's actually a James Benham quote that lives to this day. It is so true. And it's just about understanding. And there's also a misnomer, and you asked this, and I'm going to tie your two questions together. Like, what do I look for in a conversation now? I look for somebody who doesn't get it. I look for somebody that doesn't understand that the process is the process. We have to go from A to Z, right? We're not going to change that. Work has to get installed. Things have to be thought of, designed, engineered, and fabricated and installed, right? That's how it is. Now, do we need to go from A to B to C and touch every step? No, we need to know what that looks like, and we need to know where we can jump steps and we can get ahead in the alphabet quicker. But we need to know that that's not getting us to some island on its own that just, makes us have to start back over somewhere else or creates a lack of visibility, another silo in the world, right? And unfortunately, like AI is doing that at an epic rate when you want it to. you know?
Sponsor break. If you spend any time running a project, you know the answer is almost always sitting in the contract document somewhere. The catch is that it's almost never in one document. It's split across the contract, the specs, and some flow down clause 3 layers deep that nobody connects until it's already cost money. That's the whole premise behind Document Crunch. That risk doesn't live inside any single document. It lives in the gaps between them. And most teams never look at all of them together until they're standing in a dispute. The average construction dispute in the U.S. now runs about $60 million, according to Arcadis. That's a lot of money. And the root cause they point to isn't fraud or bad intent. It's people not fully understanding what they agreed to. So Document Crunch built a platform around closing that gap. Crunch AI reads the documents, surfaces the risks, and it cites the exact page and clause. That's big. So you're not just taking its word for it. Project Assist lets your team act on it, ask questions across the entire project document set, and draft your submittals, notices, and RFIs right from the chat window. And the whole thing runs on your own company standards. So the office and the field are working off the same playbook for bid through closeout. No disconnects. It's live now across the US and Canada. Go to documentcrunch.com/construction conversations and book a demo.
I mean, Lars, like you've kind of had the opportunity or pleasure of like building two companies within these two realities. What has that been like? Like you built Herman Construction, I think, what was it, kind of 2010s, and then now you're kind of building DAWs in the age of AI. Can you kind of juxtapose like the experience there?
I think appreciate that. I think nothing replaces doing it. Like you have to experience the A to B to C to D, and then be able to say, wait a minute, is that really necessary? Can I? And we used to call it kill the stupid rule. I forget where I got that from. I think it was from Vern Harnish, but it was like kill the stupid rule. Why are we doing it this way? I don't know. It's just because that's the way it was done, or that's because Tom did it that way, or Susie did it that way. And it was interesting, and I want to go back to something I heard Jeff say. It was like back in the day, pre-Procore, I bought Prolog, and I was like, Prolog's going to make me a great construction company. Oh yeah. And that was, as a startup, it was a $20,000 check. And I'm like, great, I did it. Now I can be a construction company. And then then a consultant came in for like 100, and this is a lot of money back in the day too for consultants. It was $160 an hour or something like that, 165. And he's like, okay, what do you want it to do? And I was like, hold on, what? Huh? And I was like, oh no, what have I done? So fast forward. That's the donation to get a seat at the table, and then you still have to raise your hand over and over. But what's
No, you
interesting
still
is,
have to pick up the shovel and dig the hole, my friend.
yeah, digging ditches.
You're digging
So,
ditches, baby. They're just digital ditches.
so I think what I was able to do from 2010 to call it 2015, 16, where I really sort of set this foundation for Herman Construction, was I deeply knew every workflow in my company, everything, because I knew that I couldn't rely on people to bring their experience from other companies over here, because ultimately, whatever that was, what I had seen wasn't that good. So I needed our way, our culture, and then creating sort of our processes. And again, just because this is the way we've done it, but I'm like, yeah, but that's like 5 extra steps, and 2 extra spreadsheets, and really we want speed here, right? Speed to market, decisions. And so anyway, fast forward now, I think I'm very blessed to have sort of gone through the crucible moment to be creating this newer, and we were already digital forward, but I'll call it AI forward company. I mean, what we're able to do and what we're able to accomplish, it's wild. Now, I was actually asked at the conference, where Jeff and I just were like, oh, do you want to be bigger than DPR? And it's like, no. That's the last thing I want to be. I desire simplicity and structure with speed. And so if I can be a $250 million construction company, that actually gets to take vacations. Quality of life is great. We're accurate. Financial reporting isn't this huge lift, right? Like, it's the way it should be. It's the way it should be. And so finding ways to engineer simplicity back into the organization. I think it was also, what was it? Steve Jobs. It was just like simple design is really complex. And so I think building a simple company takes an incredible amount of thought and energy to engineer risk out and put controls in place, structure, and really have just a very well-oiled machine. It takes a lot of time. I feel AI is an accelerant around that. And again, I brief this. For every one platform I say yes to, I'm getting rid of 2 or 3 minimum, period. Right? So I'm not layering stuff on. I'm extracting things and building simpleness. So there you go.
Well, I mean, I love that North Star too, which is it's not. I think oftentimes we don't define success well enough, either from kind of the vendor perspective or the app perspective. What are we actually trying to solve for? And I think from the founder seat or the builder seat, understanding that how can you use these tools to improve kind of the standard of living of yourself and your people. I think increasingly that needs to be a metric that we use. I think, go ahead.
I'll say, so again, my software company, Contracts Connected, is born out of the pure pain of contract administration, negotiations, issuance, template management, all the ongoing stuff, and the fact that I dug those ditches for a long time, and my mom did, and a couple other contract admins, and I'm like, this has got to be a better way. This is insane. And when you think about people layering, and I think, Jeff, this is a little bit of your point, when we take existing tools and just bolt on AI, are we actually creating more chaos? Or are we reimagining, does this actually have to be like this anymore? What could this workflow look like? And that's the period we're in right now. We're just, I think to your point, like AI, just chuck it at it. Hey, next thing you know, every tool has AI. It's like, yeah, this is overwhelming. This is just pure overwhelm right now. And it might be simple to go back to just doing some things on pen and paper, because it's 37 clicks to get an RFI out now.
Yeah. Well, you hit it before though, Lars, like in your prologue experience. That was the thing when I came to the industry that was such a surprise to me, is that we thought the software was going to solve our problems. It's just not the case. There are still people out there, like this problem is still pervasive. They think the AI is going to solve the problem. Like they've been waiting for the easy button and it just never comes. You said something super, super poignant there about, I know every one of my workflows, right? Like not everybody at every company can do that, but people should know those workflows. And then, that's why I got my start. That's why I did so well, was because I was like, whoa, we're not going to buy a software yet. You don't even know what you need. What's broken? Let's figure that out first. Let's do a requirements matrix. Like there was this pointing fingers at each other of like, your software sucks. And it was like, you can't digitize. You don't know what you're doing. And I was like, you're both wrong, right? Because like you, software company, your thing doesn't do what I need it to do, but I haven't done the homework to know what it is I need. So of course you're going to sell me your greatest thing and I'm going to want to buy it, and then it's not going to work, right? Like we got to connect these things together, and it's not simple, and they wanted simple. And I'm like, this stuff's not simple. What you do in life is not simple from a construction perspective. So we're going to have to map this out and like care about it. And then we can be successful. And that's when the motion started. And by the way, you strip it back, and Lars, it's the same thing is true. Like if I know my workflow and I have something that works for that workflow, and then I can pour the accelerant on it, I can get to success. But better than that, man, you said something that basically has almost killed me a few times in this industry. So I'm glad to hear you say it. you have to figure out what you are as a company. Are you a lifestyle company? Do you want to be the next DPR? Do you want to be Turner? Do you want to be Kiewit? Do you want to be some whatever? Eh, all of them are okay. No one can tell you that it's wrong, but you have to define that for yourself and then understand what that takes. Like so many times I've gone to a contractor and we have this stupid measurement system. And Lars, you said it, and I don't think you're not being stupid in this. It's just it's I don't get it. I'm a $250 million contractor. Okay, but if you output 300 million, then you're not really a good contractor, right? Like it, you have to be profitable, right? And we check it by our backlog. But again, if my debt's growing faster than what I'm doing, how good am I really?
There was a share from, gosh, I think it was one of my mentors. Can't remember who, but it was revenues for vanity, profits for sanity. And it's
Yeah,
so many companies want to grow top line, top line, top line, top line,
top line.
top line. And especially when these very strategic foundations and systems are put in place without those strategic conversations early on in the, hey, we're going to grow process. What happens is that the top line grows and the profit stays the same. And I've seen
And
it.
you know what that ends up with too, right?
Sorry,
Twice the
and I
risk.
mean gross profit, like number, not percentage. Okay, so
Yes.
it's like we just went up $100 million, but we're still only making 2 million. Like what's going on here? Gross. Like,
And you've exposed yourself to twice the risk.
yeah.
So
It,
now if you were to go wrong and get hit, you're going to go
you,
further back.
I mean, I like where you're coming from in a lot of this. I think we share a lot of similar mindsets on this. But what I saw so early was, let's just throw human beings at the problem. And my time in the military was, one was, I saw great leadership and I saw leadership that needed some help. And I'm trying to be very kind here. And I think it was just this natural, like, just go throw some soldiers, sailors at the problem, and it's expendable, right? There's just human beings, go. And I was like, we don't know what the problem is, right? Jeff, to your point, like, well, what are we solving for? And I think, like, really doing an internal deep dive as to, hey, and bringing it back around to construction here. It's like, hey, this AI stuff is really cool, right? We know our accounting department's not going away. We know our ops department isn't going away. We know estimating isn't going away. But how do we reimagine what this new future looks like? And there was a gentleman I was talking to. I said, yeah, I don't care how big of a company you are. If you're not building a 2.0 in secret right now in your company with a small team, you're at risk. And reimagine this entire environment. The moment they walk in the door, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What do they do? Is it literally, can they do everything from their phone? I think there's a future where that's possible, So, I mean,
Well,
I have Claude on my phone working with my agents right now in the cloud, reviewing plans and specs. I got my team of job site soldiers crushing for me. Anyway, I'll turn it back to you.
well, two things. That's the innovator's dilemma, right? If you're in a company, and you're a big company, if you haven't read Innovator's Dilemma, folks, go out and read Innovator's Dilemma. It's going to make you go, uh-oh, and then realize that that's going to repeat itself over and over and over. But the interesting thing, Lars, and Stephen, to your point before about like, what have I learned over time? I've learned there's a why on so many things that I didn't realize. So to give the industry credit and change your analogy a little there is like, we used to throw bodies at the problem in construction, which was actually a good thing because economically speaking, that put more people to work, more wage, more money. Yeah, the project costs were what they were, but like everybody's getting paid. And, we were employing so many people. Like what we forgot about was though, or what happened was we don't have those people anymore. And our problems didn't go away, they got worse. And so we had this why is like, I'm employing all these people. Look at me. I'm great. And you were like, you didn't even know you had a real problem. The real problem was your process. The real problem was your productivity. We started measuring all this stuff because we started running out of people and we
Yeah.
can't get the work done and we don't have the
Well,
bodies to throw at it. And we went, uh-oh, what do we do
well,
now?
I appreciate that because I agree with everything you said, and you actually brought clarity to some of my garbled thoughts here. But what's interesting is, I look at it as job cost and home office overhead, right? So job cost of individuals are like, hey, that's needed job. We have to throw bodies at it, right? We got to staff it correctly to execute the mission. A little bit of what I was talking about was, oh wow, we just got $100 million more worth of work or 20 new projects. Quick, our contracts department is going to double. Our estimating departments, we got to go hire 5 new people, and that's a little bit where I'm talking about, because that's where I think that chaos trickles down to the field, and then quality of life is in this, like, you're running from something rather than running towards something, and so you actually feel it in, like, your bones, this stress level from the organization that has put you into this role of chaos management, and it doesn't have to be that way.
So let's reposition this for the next generation, because I think there's going to be folks listening to this that obviously this resonates with, not just like as like conceptually, historically. It's like, oh yeah, this is my life right now. And I think like one of the big challenges is that we've set up this kind of false dichotomy of, if you are an innovator and you do have a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit, you then like go start a tech company, which is great. Like Cameron Page, Clear Story, it's a great story. Lars, like domain expertise baked into these products, it's fantastic. But I do think, what is it going to take for an industrious PM and superintendent to rethink how project delivery looks, and start these little boutique firms, and like maybe Lars, you're setting a little bit of a template. So maybe the question is, why are the most innovative, entrepreneurially focused people in our industry automatically going into tech? Is that the only outlet, or is it because the barriers to entry on the contracting side seem harder?
It- Go ahead, Jeff. I'll say, you go first, and then I'll.
Or I guess, is my assessment even true?
No, your assessment is true, I think. I think there's a couple of things going on here, right? We still do have real problems, right? And the whole app fatigue thing was because there was like this burgeoning set of technology available and problems that existed, and you'd bring it together, right? We still have those. And so, like you said, Cameron from Clear Story, like living in absolute nightmare pain, and just said there's got to be another way. And he had to ask himself so many times that he just went and solved it, right? But I think there's an unnatural belief that you have to go to tech to keep being technical. And I'm probably going to get myself in trouble here, but and I'm going to steal from a friend of mine, but there's also a lot of innovation theater in our industry that was used for marketing and really burned a bunch of people up. And the only place they could go find somebody that I don't know, accepted them, cared for them, really was about them, was on the tech side, right? It was because, especially because you know how valuable it is to have true field experience, to have true workflow knowledge, and work at a technology company. And that's a problem on our end. Like, and a few of us have, I mean, I myself have contributed to that over time. Like, if I could go back and change certain things that came out of my mouth today, I would in a second. I'd have gone, I'd go back and edit some things out and hoped they never got into the wild. I would have hoped in some cases where my career went, I didn't allow it to go there. Because some of it is created by our own design, and we also didn't again, we focused so much on, well, you've got this tech, solve my problem. If I'm going to give you 20 grand, it better solve my damn problem. And it's like, well, no, actually, like, I need time with it. I need to learn. I need a culture that's open to change, but one that articulates risk involved in that change so that we can understand when we go from, CAD drawing to BIM. Oh, by the way, we were talking about BIM and VDC, Stephen, during that whole time. I can't believe we talked about data and machine learning and computer vision. We never said, like, remember BIM? This whole thing is called BIM. It's spelled BIM, and it has this other one, VDC. Those things. We talked about those a lot. But we said we're going to do this BIM thing, right? And we didn't. And we didn't create the culture. We didn't create the environment. We didn't give it its due to focus on how the heck are we going to use and transform from that CAD and that paper to that CAD to that BIM to that field, to all of those things. We just didn't give it its due or its focus. And we burned people out, and they would go up and they'd have nowhere to go, and they'd go out. Or we put them in a damn seat they shouldn't have been in. How many BIM and VDC people you see became CIOs? And I will tell you right now, that is the wrong place, right? And there's a few of them out there listening right now that are going to kick me for that, but I don't care. You should be a CTO, right? I wish we didn't have this thing called construction technology. It should be operational technology. It's all it is. It's weaponizing, in a good way, the technology to do business. And then we see it as what it is, a tool. And
I think it's coming there. I think it's going there.
Oh, I think we're on the way back around to it. I do agree.
So first and foremost, having a tech company isn't necessarily easier than having a construction company. I'll just say that. It's a whole new set of problems. But, for me, was digging ditches, right? Covered every day, and just being like, these platforms, my tech stack continues to miss the mark on how to make my life, but more importantly, my employees' life, the guys that are doing it, right, easier. They're missing the mark. And that was ultimately my motivation, because it's like, and I could get into more details, but it was like, that I believe is sometimes what can easily just go off track. It is this, how am I making the user experience, the employee's life, as easy as possible, and consolidating things? How can I take a holistic view at the app alphabet soup that we live in and say, wait a minute. Why do I have so many of these different things? I got 6 logins. It's just a requirement. How do I have a requirement software? Perfect. Let's go build one, and just again, it's like we have an app, but then we go back to Excel to work with the app. It's like, well, then that's a failure, I think. I think then we're missing, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I agree.
I mean, I think, going back to this idea of like innovation theater and how it maybe capped the value of some of these initiatives that we're investing in. What do we think is in that category now? I give marketing a hard time on both sides of the fence, tech and kind of contracting world. I think both are guilty of, and maybe it's the essence of marketing. I don't know, but I think there is this idea of, there's an incredible opportunity for marketing to be based on storytelling, real storytelling, and I think often it moves away from that, and it projects potential stories rather than the reality. But to the question, I think it is, what does innovation theater look like right now?
Oh, for me, it is a lot of these vibe coded. Oh, I can kill your project management system tonight with a vibe code sesh. and push it out there. And then even sitting across from people who are now, able to code things in ways they couldn't before, and thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go back to this build it, build it, build it. It used to be, pretty financially, it was too much, right, to do it the old way and hire the developers and whatnot. Now they're thinking, oh, well, this new generation person can vibe code this thing, right? And but those of us who have been through it, and like Lars said, it's, pick your poison. It's a different set of problems, but it's not easy in tech, right? There's dev environments, there's QA environments, there's your pilot testing environments, and then your production environment. And then as you scale, it becomes a very difficult thing to manage that technology over time and that growth and that tech debt and all of that stuff. And I'm like, well, is that what you do, or do you build things? Because again, goes back to like, who are you? Well, we're a construction company and this is what we do. Should I be connecting things and have those aptitudes in some of them? Absolutely. But I should be also operating more like a real mature business, right? And pushing towards consistently analyzing what I do, having business analysts, having operational technologists, having true IT and IT security, and then leadership that's plugged in and vulnerable to, you don't know what's next, right? This is just this thing that's come around now. Who knows what's coming next at us? And no one person can know it all. So you have to surround yourself in a circle of trust where you can be vulnerable to learn new things and keep the ship going. But no, look, go back to you, Lars, before you were talking about like the Navy. Well, I'm pretty sure the captain knew how the engine worked when he was all the way down at that level. But I don't know that he knows the new hydraulic systems and how they're put together. But he's up there steering the boat, and if the boat don't go where it should, he's calling somebody to fix it, right? And he's trusting that they know what they do. This is the same thing we do in construction with technology. You got to know where the business is going to go. You got to know what that is, but you got to have trust and faith that the people working on the engines of the business are good at it. And if they're not, the problem isn't them, it's you.
Man, that's a banger right there, Jeff. I think that sounds dangerously like humility, which at times is a little bit
Contractors are
allergic.
known for humility. Yes, they
Just a
are.
little bit allergic to that.
Very low egos, not prideful.
Um, I think, one of the things I've always appreciated about your approach to the industry, Jeff, is you're a truth teller and you kind of say how things are, and obviously that's evident in this conversation. And I think, and I've been on the tech side as well, and I feel the tension that kind of perspective can have in that environment. How have you navigated that from, you were at Join, obviously you're at Bluebeam now. Obviously there's a big benefit to having a truth teller like you in that environment so you can help inform product and direction and push back. But I think when I was at Versatile, or when I was, consulting, I think there was always this pressure to position your product as the thing that's going to solve everything, and knowing that it's not can create some conflict. How have you navigated that?
Oh, I've stumbled along the way. I'll be honest. I've made some of my own mistakes for sure. Um, I'd say I'm glad you picked where you were, because I made my mistakes, I think, before Join. And thankfully, when I got to Join, for me, a lot of it came together, because at that point I had realized, like, hey, and we covered this in the beginning, like when you come to me, and we'll use Join in particular, right? A collaborative project delivery platform, right? So when we get to the table, the first question is, how much of your work is design build, is, CMGC or, IPD? None. Well, this conversation's over. It was good to talk to you though, like, and I learned this early. Like I used to do demos for another company, and I'd be like an hour and a half into the demo, showing them everything. I ask a question, I show them this, I show them that, and my AM would be like, "Yeah, you got him, man," and they'd never buy it, never buy it. And I was like, but I showed them. I go, yeah, no, you got in the weeds. You showed them pics and clicks and things. And it's like, you should have just asked a few questions and gotten to know. And ultimately, being able to turn to the company and say, getting to know faster than maybe is saves us all time and money. And if we give it to them and it is wrong for them, they're going to tell everybody. And we're not going to be able to be over there saying, oh, no, it's because they don't do that type of work. It's not going to work. So you have to teach back into the company the value of understanding where you do and don't fit and telling a true story that actually aligns with the problems that they have. Where you get out of whack is, you're right, you make those problems up. You assume those problems exist. But on the other side is, I've watched and I've interviewed so many founders who and people starting technology companies that make construction people feel stupid. And you're like, hey, like, that's where I lead with this. That's what I say. I say this all the time. When I build my own Legos, they condemn them. OSHA comes into my house, is like, no, 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 no. You can't do that. You can't do that. You don't know what you're doing, man. No, please don't do that. And it's because that's not what I'm good at, right? I'm really good at IT and technology and understanding how it works together. But and they'll be like, "Oh, you're so smart." No, I'm talented in that area. Yeah, but I can't build anything. A mason in the field, putting brick and block together, and at the end of the day, it's a structure that works. Or tying rebar and knowing where it goes and setting up correctly and setting up the forms, and then a freaking wall comes out of it. It's magic, right? It's really freaking cool. And then all these people that, were pipe fitters and steam fitters and electricians, and they were doing everything and pulling every cable and everything. And now they're like, hey, I think we can do this in a shop. And then we can drive it there and just click it in. That's genius. So have a set of humility, but also like a reverence for what they do. Like, it's not like there's greatest thing. Dustin Burns said this to me at this event years ago. He said, "How many of you slept in your bed last night and worried if it was going to fall through the floor?"
That's
He said, "That's because somebody, an architect,
yes.
an engineer, a contractor, all came together to build you something that's not what you worry about. You worry about if the neighbor next door is too loud, not going through the
It's
floor."
crazy. Well, how about flushing the toilet or turning your lights on or turning your
Hmm.
sink on? Basic stuff.
Hmm.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And
Yeah,
again,
and
and this is where I'm passionate. It's just like, oh, those are just laborers. That's blue collar. Are you kidding me? You're welcome. You're welcome.
yeah, and say thank you.
Well, but I think that's where we're maybe even returning back to the mean a little bit, which is like AI has accelerated the, yes, appreciation of the digital, but also it has reminded us of our reliance on the physical. And you only have so much fiber cable, and you only have so much compute because of physical data centers. And so I think there is a return. But yeah, I love that. I think I wonder if, and I think this is returning. I think that message is starting to hit home, and the economics of maybe the challenges for the next generation are helping. But I do think the numbers are starting to show that trade schools are increasing in numbers. So I think maybe the message is finally getting through.
Yeah, and I think too, we also haven't really taken this step back. And it's funny, I just commented on somebody's post on LinkedIn about this. Is like, they felt like the world was splitting into two. Like they were going, the people who do it that way and always have and always will, and then these new technology people. And I said, I think because of the complexity of this industry, we're like the caterpillar becoming the butterfly, but unfortunately, we're inside, the chrysalis as it's forming, and we're unfortunately seeing all the dirty things that happen, and we're feeling this move here and move there, and because ultimately, too, like you said, we went through that whole gap in having the labor, but we also didn't understand that, like, that labor now can be equipped with way more technology that they love and can be taught to build things and then can help us learn new, exciting ways to do it better, more efficiently. And become and feel like craftspeople. That's one of the other things that, when I got in here 10 years ago into the industry, it's 11 years ago now in the industry, and we finished our first job at the masonry company and we drove by it to look at it. And I did the IT for the iPhones, right? And actually, believe it or not, rolled out Bluebeam to that team, right? And I was like, we built that. And the first time I said that, I was like, oh wow, that's why people love this. That's how that feels. Oh, okay. Okay, there's something to this. That's why and that's where this industry needs to get back to, is like, and then I had good friends say like, hey, you want to hear a great story? Just get a PM or an old super in a car and drive through their city and just listen and feel how the pride and just feel that, and then realize that unfortunately, like, the way we're organized as an industry and the way that we're beginning to be digitized, et cetera, and going through, like, we created adversarial environments. I'm making the same joke since I started. Like, how many people end a job and they're like, yeah, let's do it again? No, they're like, oh crap. All right, let's get the punch list out. Let's get the final billing across. I hate you. I hate you. See you on the next job. Like, we don't need to do that, right? And also too, I think this could go and be really, really well applied if you were to say, bring the curiosity of, I don't know everything and no one can, so that's okay, and teach me what you know, right? In my time at Join, I learned that the true problem in pre-construction really isn't, it really isn't the technology. It really isn't what's going on. It's that we come to the table with an idea that we want to win, right? I want to win my way of doing things, instead of everybody coming together and realizing electricians are great at what they do, framers and drywallers and masons and mechanicals. And me as the GC or the architect, I need to be curious and learn from them on what's going to make this easier, faster, better. And how can we all come out with maybe a little bit different? Like, hey, I understand you want to fab that this way, but for the design intent, what I want, I want a little bit more of this. Okay, that's the intent of this thing. Oh, okay. Well, and then if we could kind of go towards that, we'd incorporate way more prefabrication. We'd get ahead of things better. We'd get to design for manufacturing and assembly. We don't get there because we're too busy fighting with one another, instead of just being humble and curious about each other and then bringing those things together.
I mean, that incentive structure kind of side of this whole conversation is, I feel like, never fully sussed out well enough. Like, I think, IPD has like scratched a certain element of that, and maybe not successfully so. But yeah, there's a whole maybe other episode just on incentive structures. I want to go through like a little bit of a lightning round on claims and have you kind of give your response to some of these claims that we've heard in the industry over the years. All right. So here's the first one. It was never a tech averse industry. It was just bad tech.
Mm.
Are we like
Yes,
rating these? Are we
yes,
rating them?
and
Like yeah.
I say agree, disagree, or provide your narrative. I guess we're always going to provide your narrative. Agree or disagree. You gotta pick one.
Ooh, I like this. We're gonna squeeze you here.
If you
agree.
disagree, you can agree, disagree, and then you can provide a narrative on the back end.
Agree. It was a timing problem that nobody saw coming, because how do you have internet where there is no internet yet? There is no electricity yet. There is no any of that. Last mile created a whole bunch of problems. And so a lot of things became accounting heavy, office heavy because that's where the internet was. And so in some respects, it was just life, man. They weren't averse to it. It wasn't available to them. And it couldn't be, and it wasn't bad tech. You couldn't get it to them. So I think ultimately it was a little bit of both, but we've changed over time.
Only 20% of AEC firms are using AI for real work.
Well, that was a statistic I think we got from Bluebeam a year ago, and I would say that that has doubled or more now. So I would agree at the time it was taken, and I would disagree now because it's more now. And I think that number in a year will be even higher.
Then why are the drawings that I'm getting aren't coordinated or anything? I'd love to have someone. Sorry, Jeff. Okay, mute.
The barrier to adoption is complexity, culture, and connection, not cost.
Agree. Um, and I would double down on complexity. The complexity of the organizations of this of what we do and what we build and how we build it and what we are asking to be built at the scheduled framework we're asking for it at is really, really hard. And I think, to be honest, the cost of time has exceeded the cost of the software these days. So I do truly believe, and we did an MEP innovation report. If anybody hasn't seen it, go take a look. But that's what that 700 of the leading mechanical, electrical, and plumbers in the world told us. It's true. We'll adopt it. We got the money for it. The complexity of getting it done, learning it, and getting people off of work long enough to learn it and implement it. So it's a complexity issue for sure.
I agree with that. Here's a curveball. In 5 years, Excel will still be a go-to for PMs for day-to-day solving things.
Okay, so this is a hard one because I would split the industry into two here. I would disagree at the large scale level, right? Where we're large scale projects. Nah, you know what? I'm going to agree. I'm not going to lose out on that one. I'm going to agree because I've been doing this for too
Yeah,
long. My
yeah.
hope is to disagree. But if you asked me for my wallet and you said everything in your wallet, you have to put it on, black or red, I'm going to agree.
If they're using it for process and I'll call it workflows and things like that, I think I would disagree. I see it as a scratch pad. It's easy. I'm just going to go here just to churn some things. That's
Lars,
what I see.
I hope you're right, but I just,
Yeah.
It's like use case related, right? I don't see it being used as a database as
Yeah.
much in the future, and more of a tool for solving specific issues. I mean, Claude has an integration into the Office suite at this.
Uh-oh. Then I'm glad Jeff agreed. So smart move.
All right, Jeff. I know we're running out of time, and you got to catch a flight. What is you've spent a number of years. We've talked about this, asking folks about the future. Um, Maybe two-part question. One, bullish or bearish on where we're heading, and then two, what is an outlandish claim that you would want to make about where we're heading in the next 5, 7 years?
I'm bullish. I just believe in this industry. I just believe, I mean, we're not going to stop wanting new stadiums. We're not going to stop wanting to consume AI. And by the way, if you want to consume AI, somebody's got to give you the capacity, and we're the ones who build it. We have an energy structure. We have water, wastewater. We have infrastructure. We have so many things, a housing crisis ahead of us that I'm bullish that this industry is the place to be. And I also think that as we modernize and culture seeps in and we change, we're really going to be a place. Like you said, Stephen, we're seeing more and more kids come into our training centers and into the trades because they want to have an impact. Something about this generation coming in that's true is they've been let down over time. And our industry doesn't let them down because they do build things. And this is an outlandish claim is that I was completely wrong about AR and VR And the truth is, the knowledge and the insights that we're going to get are going to come from the tools in the hands of the labor that are installing and doing things and feeding back to us. And we're going to learn more about our industry than we ever thought we could through that connected tool ecosystem. And they will become cobotics, like we're seeing with DeWalt and like we're seeing with Dig Robotics and others. There's gonna be this coalescing where the caterpillar becomes the butterfly, and we realize we're not taking jobs, we're amplifying humans, and we're building and creating safer structures. You know, Lars, you saw it yesterday, Sparky with the hook while you were here. Like what
Hard hat, right? Wasn't it?
Hard hat robotics. I had no idea before I was introduced to this that a human puts themselves in a suit
Yeah.
and electrifies something,
Yeah.
and there's someone there with a hook to pull them off
Oh,
if
yeah.
it goes wrong. And instead, we can put a robotic arm in, hit the button, and watch it. And you know what? If the metal melts, the metal melts. Screw it. We're fine. And we're not going to put humans into that place anymore. And now, as a father, I'm not going to care if my son or my daughter want to go do that, because now I believe that they're going to be not only safe, but they're going to be satisfied and they're going to get paid. And that is, as a father, as a human, as a pro construction, I think that's the future, man.
Yeah, I love that. Lars, any final thoughts?
No, this is great. Agree. Thank you.
Jeff, you're the man. Thanks for coming on, man. And yeah, safe travels back to your next spot.
Yeah, final thought for you, Stephen. Keep the podcast going. Thank you for coming into the industry and doing it. I believe that the more of us that are out there doing this, the better we are. We are better and bigger together. So thanks for doing it, and thanks for having me on. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It's always been great to catch up with you, man. So I will see you somewhere soon. And thanks for having me on the show.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Yeah, we'll see you at the next conference here one of these days.
You got it.
All right, see you guys.
Take it easy, guys.